The whine of helicopter blades cuts through the midday heat over Mogadishu before anything else. Seconds later, a rocket-propelled grenade tears into the tail rotor of a U.S. Army Black Hawk and sends it crashing into the crowded streets of Somalia's capital. There's no turning back. What was supposed to be a quick strike becomes one of the most intense, chaotic, and heroic battles in modern American military history. World War II and Vietnam veterans would recognize the terror, the brotherhood, the grit of this fight. But nothing quite prepared these soldiers for an urban war at this scale. It's October 3, 1993. Task Force Ranger is deep in the heart of Mogadishu as part of Operation Gothic Serpent, a mission born out of the broader effort to restore peace and protect humanitarian relief operations in a nation ravaged by famine and civil war. U.S. Army Rangers, Delta Force operators, and aviators from the famed 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, the Night Stalkers, are here to capture two of Somali warlord Mohammed Farah Aidid's top lieutenants. The plan is precise, swift, and calculated to finish in under an hour. "Load up, boys," one ranger says just before boarding the helicopters that afternoon. "We'll be back before supper." Confidence is high. They've practiced every scenario imaginable, just like the U.S. Army did for decades of conflict from the Pacific Islands of World War II to the rice paddies of Vietnam. But nothing in training can replicate the unpredictability of a city where every street corner is a potential ambush and every face in the crowd could be an enemy. The assault begins just after 1500 hours. MH-60 Black Hawks hover over the target building in the bustling Bakara Market District. Rangers fast rope down. Delta Force operators storm the structure. The capture team secures 24 prisoners, but Aidid's aides are nowhere to be found. The clock ticks. A convoy of Hums and trucks under Lieutenant Colonel Danny McKnight is supposed to be right behind them, ready to extract the team. The plan is tight. Fast in, fast out. No surprises. But almost immediately the first surprise hits. At about 1,540 hours, a rocket-propelled grenade slams into the tail rotor of Super 61. The helicopter tumbles out of the sky and crashes hard into the packed streets below. The noise is thunderous. Glass shatters. Dust and debris fill every corner of the air. Men on the ground spin toward the blast, instinct and training taking over. Super 61's down, one pilot calls over the radio. Static, confusion, urgency. The mission changes in an instant. There's no longer a neat plan with neat timelines. This is war unfolding in real time. Task Force Ranger soldiers sprint toward the crash site without hesitation. They form a perimeter, grab wounded, and return fire as waves of Somali fighters flood the narrow streets. The convoy under McKnight tries to reach them, but snarled traffic, barricades, and hostile mobs slow them at every turn. Rocks, burning tires, and overturned vehicles block the road. The clock continues to slip. Then, less than an hour after the first helicopter goes down, it happens again. Another Black Hawk, Super 64, is hit by an RPG. It spins out of control and crashes about a mile from the first site. Inside that second Black Hawk is Chief Warrant Officer Michael J. Durant and his crew. Unlike most training scenarios, the ground support is too far away to reach them in time. As the wreckage settles, Durant and his teammates are suddenly alone on hostile ground. Overhead, two Delta Force snipers, Master Sergeant Gary I. Gordon and Sergeant First Class Randy Sugart, are flying cover. They see the situation unfold, Somali fighters closing in on the crash, the pilot exposed, and no immediate rescue in sight. Gordon radios for permission to be inserted. Command hesitates. This is dangerous beyond almost anything they faced. But Gordon insists. The crew on the ground will not survive alone, he says. Their request is denied once. Then twice. Then on the third plea, command grants it. They know what's at stake. These are warriors who would rather face impossible odds than leave a brother behind. With helicopters hovering above under heavy fire, Gordon and Sugart fast rope into the chaos about 100 meters from the wreck. They sprint across open ground towards Super 64's shattered fuselage. Gunfire cracks, bullets ricochet off concrete and metal. But they make it. They reach Durant, pull him out of the cockpit, and drag him to the edge of a nearby building. "Mike, stay down," Gordon shouts over the din, covering Durant with every round he has. Sugart leaps into position at the front of the makeshift perimeter, lowering volleys into the oncoming mob of militia fighters. Their rifles crack. Their movements are precise. They bought time. Precious seconds turn into minutes. But the enemy numbers are overwhelming. Gordon is hit. Shugart takes up his position and continues the fight, yelling for Durant to crawl to safety. At one point, Shugart hands Durant Gordon's K-15 when his own ammunition runs out. They fight on until they're out of bullets, and then until the moment they can fight no more. Durant watches them fight with every ounce of courage they possess. Then he's seized by hostile fighters, beaten, stripped, and taken prisoner. This isn't just a rescue mission gone sideways. It's a crucible. Warriors giving their lives for another. Gordon and Shugart will later receive the Medal of Honor, the first since the Vietnam War, for actions that embody the highest traditions of American service. Back at the first crash site, Rangers and Delta operators have been fighting tooth and nail since the first helicopter went down. Roughly 90 soldiers form a defensive perimeter around the wreckage of Super 61. Mortars, rocket-propelled grenades, small arms fire, and snipers from hostile rooftops hammer them. They huddle behind walls and in buildings, returning fire, communicating on fractured radios, and praying for reinforcements. What the hell just happened? A young ranger whispers into his MIC, voice trembling from adrenaline and fatigue. Keep your head down and your eyes open. Each minute feels like an hour. Each breath is measured against the likelihood of the next. They fight not for glory, but for survival and for each other. The sun drops low and shadows grow long. The expectation of a short mission dissolves into the stark reality of an 18-hour battle. The city, once just a backdrop, becomes a gauntlet of death. Lieutenant Colonel Knight's convoy, dubbed the Lost Convoy, struggles with narrow streets and deep enemy presence. Roadblocks force them into kill zones. Vehicles take hits. Rangers are killed and wounded as they fight to break through to the crash sites. Communications are chaotic. Orders are shouted, misheard, repeated, reissued. Confusion reigns, but discipline holds. They refuse to leave any man behind. On the ground, among the Rangers pinned down near Super 61, voices can be heard calling out for medevac. Dust off, we need immediate dust off on coordinates. Little bird helicopters swarm overhead with paramedics and medics ready to pull out wounded brothers. These scenes echo the medevac chaos of World War II's Pacific and European theaters, where rescue was often a matter of life or death. Night falls, but for these soldiers, there is no rest. The fighting continues relentlessly. Machine guns chatter. RPGs whistle overhead and explode in bursts of flame. Somewhere in the darkness, someone calls out a name. And others answer. These are not statistics. They are friends. Brothers in arms. When the first light of dawn creeps over the horizon on October 4th, a relief column finally begins to break through. Elements of the U.S. 10th Mountain Division's Quick Reaction Force, alongside Malaysian and Pakistani UN armored units, push through fire and debris to reach the battered survivors. Tanks and armored personnel carriers clear a path toward the beleaguered Rangers. It's not a triumphant march. It's a hard-won crawl through danger and sacrifice. The rescue force reaches Super 61's wreckage. The bodies of the fallen are respectfully recovered. Wounded soldiers are loaded onto vehicles, litters are lifted, and the survivors begin what would later be called the Mogadishu Mile, an arduous movement back to the safety of Mogadishu Stadium. Some walk, others are carried, all bearing the scars of a night no one will ever forget. 18 American soldiers have died in the battle. 84 are wounded. Pakistani and Malaysian allies have paid a price too, and estimates of Somali casualties vary widely, reflecting the chaos of the fight. This was the highest number of U.S. casualties in direct combat since Vietnam. Private First Class Todd Blackburn, who was injured early when he fell from a helicopter, later recalls trying to hold his unit together amid the chaos. "You fight for the man beside you," he says. "That's what kept me going." Part of the force makes it back to the UN base by 06:30 on October 4th. There are no parades, no victory music. Just exhausted soldiers. Brothers with losses they carry for the rest of their lives. Chief Warrant Officer Durant, held captive for 11 days with severe injuries to his leg, eye socket, and face, is finally released. His survival is testament to resilience, a testament made possible by Gordon and Shugart's stand. As the U.S. withdraws from Somalia, the consequences of this battle ripple through American military doctrine and public opinion. But the true legacy lives in the stories of those who fought, the voices of rangers, Delta operators, pilots, medics, and support crews who faced impossible odds and chose courage anyway. And yet, even with the facts, the names, and the dates etched into history, there's a deeper layer of this story that few know, a piece hidden in reports and personal diaries that reshapes how we understand what truly happened on those Mogadishu streets. That untold chapter, buried beneath dust and gun smoke, waits to be uncovered.